This is a repeal of Senate Bill 529 from 2 years ago, the Children's Social, Emotional, Mental Behavior Health Plan. We've talked about it before on the floor. And this plan is a major expansion of mental health services into every community in the state of Indiana. It's going to cost, if implemented as it's written, is going to cost counties a phenomenal amount of money. It's the biggest expansion we've seen in state government. And I would just ask that we repeal it before it has a chance to get off the ground. Appreciate your support.
Representative Brown.
Representative Walorski, why would we, if we just passed this last year or year before last, why would we now be repealing?
Very few people in this room understood what was really in this plan when we passed it. There was not full disclosure on this plan. It was slid in a one-liner of a bill, and it's the largest expansion we've seen of government. There's a lot of grassroots organizations that are against it in the state of Indiana, and I just think that I'm not against the concept of what we're trying to do if we have kids that are literally falling through the crack that need mental health services, but this expansion has several problems with it. Number one is it targets minorities. It's a huge targeting of minorities, and it flat out says in here that if you come from an area that is considered underachieving, then you're absolutely targeted. It targets any mother who's ever been on any kind of postpartum drug, and I think it completely overrides parental rights. So I'm not against the concept, Representative Brown. I'm just against, let's at least, instead of implementing this plan, give full disclosure to this body, and maybe if we have to start over and slow the process down like we've heard before, it'd be worth it for the sake of the kids in the state and also for the sake of the money it's costing taxpayers.
Another question. You indicated earlier that this slid through and very few knew what was in it. Would that be out of the ordinary for 90% of the bills that come through here?
You know, absolutely. And I think that I'm glad that it came to my attention, and I'm glad that it came to my attention in time to be able to talk about this session before this thing is fully implemented, because this is a huge infringement on the rights of parents, and it allows mental health testing. In my district, in Penn Harris-Madison School in Mishawaka, Indiana, there's a lawsuit right now that those parents are going to win because their child was tested without parental permission. This is a big deal. And I think before this thing gets out of the box and implemented, we have a chance to ratchet it back, go back to the table, and do it correctly.
I would understand and appreciate it if there was an effort maybe to study this issue more, and this returned into a resolution and say, let us have the Health Finance Commission or the Mental Health Commission look at this issue more and bring that back next year. But I am diametrically opposed to us repealing this legislation at this point, and I'd ask for you to defeat this amendment.
Representative Noy.
This plan came out of a nexus that started very good on a very good track. It was a combination of folks that were getting together to look at the system by which we administer mental health services to young children. Our system in that area is in fact broken. It has many different doors you can enter when you get in to the arena of mental health services. Depending on which door you entered through, your choices are different. The way they're delivered is different. So it is a system that does need to be addressed. And the Department of Education and now the Department of Mental Health Services have taken this on. However, the particular children's mental emotional state plan came out of that and includes such things as mental health screening in the schools for children from birth to 22 years of age. There are definitely some very crucial difficulties to that. You know, the age of 18 and above, you have been emancipated. The parental right issue is another thing that comes to mind. But I think one of the things that, to me, really said we need to take a whole new look at this children's mental health and emotional plan. I did not want to derail the things that really, truly need to be done to address the system. And so we had a letter from Bob Mara at the Department of Education answering our question of, okay, Are we forfeiting doing the structural, systemic corrections that need to be made? Because if we want to take a relook at the children's social emotional plan, and the answer was no. The structural things that we need to do, we can do administratively. We don't need any type of statutory permission to do it. So even if we look at taking the slow road on this plan, which I believe we truly need to do, we will not be derailing or delaying any of those systemic fixes that need to be made so we can have a unified system of mental health services being delivered to children in a satisfactory way. And so two different issues, and voting yes on this amendment, which I would encourage you to do, does not hamstring doing the things systemically that truly need to be done and that can be done on an administrative basis. Thank you.
Representative Banion.
I guess I'm going to stand up here, and number one, I'm going to confess that I am the culprit of this language. This language was amended in committee in Family and Children, I believe it was, in 2005. I asked for Bob Mara, which is somebody I very much respect, and for Jim Payne, and said, you know, what can we do to help children? And I'm like, how can we put together a plan and put together something that tries to bring services for children collaboratively, saves the state money. I don't want intervention. I want to make sure that parents are involved. If we start evaluations of children without having a parent involved and get a child labeled, that is definitely not to advantage for anybody or to any child. It has to be collaborative effort all along the way. The plan was created, and I would respect Representative Walorski's opinion, and I do think there's sometimes, as I look at the plan, it's gone too far. But I guess my suggestion to her, as I have said a number of times, even Senator Lawson, who was the one who authored 529, is how can we fix, rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater, how can we fix this problem? And I guess I would urge you defeat of this motion. I think that it is something that we still need to consider. It is in front of the State Board of Education. They have the ability to look at it, and if we need to do things to fix it, I think it's in our best interest and the best interest of children to work on fixing it rather than throwing it out, and I would urge your defeat. Thank you.
This concept did start out with a good concept and with a good plan. The authority that we gave in Senate Bill 529 was to create a plan, but it really has gone too far. It's created a huge plan. And my comment is this, that we do need to fix it, and there are some things that need to be fixed inside of this plan, but I would suggest that we put this legislature back in control of this process and fix it without having kids get mislabeled and those kids fall through the cracks. So I'd appreciate your support, and I appreciate a roll call vote, Mr. Speaker.